Things. I just had an idea to make some laser slash bubble bases in phaseplant and show you a cool trick with involving working with the wavetable editor. So let's go into Ableton Live and open up a phaseplant. And the reason why I'm showing phaseplant is because it's hyper flexible. But you could do this in most FM synthesizers. So let me first explain what a laser is for someone who doesn't know. So I'm going to get a sine wave. You can use any waveform for this, and it'll give you a different character. But I'm just going to use a sine wave. And then I'm going to get an LFO on unipolar and do the ramp down. So this is kind of the most simple, basic laser bass. I can plug my keyboard in. So that's a sine wave. And now if I speed this LFO up, I can then map it to the shift here, which is like the unquantized pitch of the oscillator. So with lasers, it sounds kind of nice, I think, to have more of an exponential envelope. So you have kind of a clicky transient and then it goes down. So notice how it becomes a pretty nice tone when you speed that LFO up into audio rate. So that brings us to the next thing. But first, I want to show you what I meant by like a bubble sound. And that's kind of like a reverse laser. So a bubble, it kind of has this nice pitch up effect. Kind of gives you that bubble vibe. Turn my vocal up a bit. Yeah, so it gives you that kind of bubble vibe, which is pretty cool. And again, if you speed it up. So there you go, your basic bubble and laser. So what we're going to use is FM frequency modulation. So what we're going to do is get a wavetable out. And we're going to look for a similar shape to what we had in that LFO. So if you look here, a saw wave is kind of like a ramp up. So if I map this now to this shift, it's really fast. So if I pitch it down, so it gives you that similar effect. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a wavetable specifically for this. And there's a couple ways to go about this. So there's a few tools over here that'll let you do this. I'm going to select the whole wavetable here and then just go to this pencil. And this will let me draw in my laser. So I'm going to start high and then go down like this and come to the zero crossing. And then just keep going down. So that'll give us kind of a lasery type effect, I think. And there's another way, so I'll select all this again and go to this little pen icon, and this will let us create breakpoints so we can get a saw down. And I wonder what happens if we rectify that. So if we do a rectified kind of thing. So let's do kind of something like this. And if you right click, it'll change the way it ramps. See how it goes from straight to exponential to logarithmic. So we can also increase the grid size here so we have more flexibility. And we can also turn off the magnet up here in the top right corner, and that'll turn the snapping off so we can go a little bit more exact here. I'm going to turn it back on so I can get that zero crossing lined up. So we can start getting some interesting kind of laser bases like this. So that's the basic laser base that I'm talking about. It's a very wet base. But this kind of ruins your sub fundamental. It takes a lot of power away from it. So if we get a Pro Q out, we can look at the spectrum. And you can see it has these nice upper harmonics. I'll make the display small. And if we really want this to sound extra lasery, what we can do is we can also map this to the level of the oscillator. So we do some gain, or I'm sorry, some amplitude modulation. So it makes it sound quieter, so we could turn it up. And maybe we'll try some other shapes here. So I'll maybe do a bit more of a ramp thing like this. And we don't have to stick to this zero crossing. So let's try maybe going like this. And again, we could try doing a rectified. Maybe we can do like a double, like a rectified kind of thing. So that's kind of interesting. Let's keep experimenting. I'm going to draw some stuff. What about something like that? It almost sounds like it's bubbling back up, so maybe this would work. I want it so that it sounds like it's pitching down. Yeah, that did it. So you can see like the negative side of the waveform kind of flips what's happening. So if you reverse what you're doing, it gives you kind of the same effect here as it is happening up here. So that's a pretty interesting waveform. I'm going to file, edit, copy, and then, yeah, edit, copy, and then select all, and then paste. And then I'm going to select half of this, and I'm going to kind of do the opposite. Oh, wait. Did we get the effect? It gave us the wrong effect here. Hold on. Select it all, and then what we had was this. But maybe we curve it like this instead. So it's kind of an exponential shape. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So done, and then I'm going to select this second half of the wavetable and just kind of do the reverse so that we can get that bubble sound. So if we start here and go up here, and then flip that so that we go this way down. That gives us a similar effect but reversed. So then we can select this middle third and just do effects and frame blend. And now we can kind of blend between these two. So the last thing we're going to need to do is create a sub-oscillator because we're losing a lot of our bass when we're doing this. So I'm going to create another group and do a wavetable, sine wave, and an output. And on this top one, there is some sub left. It's just super muddy and undefined. So I'm actually going to do a 6 times 6 slope and just cut that. And on the frequency spectrum, you can see that sub is quieter still than those highs. So I'm going to turn this down a bit. And then so that we always have a nice relationship between the sub and the top, I'm going to map the note tracking to the filter cutoff. That's sounding nice. I'm going to do a little modulation on that wavetable between kind of from triangle into sawtooth. And then maybe a slower LFO to the wavetable position of our FM operator. I kind of want a more gentle blend, so I'm actually going to select a lot of this and go effects, frame blend. And you can change the distance here, and that'll kind of give you a better blend sometimes. Try changing the phase, and that'll change the phase relationship between the top and the sub. So maybe a bit of crossfade. We can do this crossfade here and here. So that'll give us a little smoother. We pitch this lower oscillator that we're using as an FM operator down an octave. You really start to get some nice laser effects. And another thing we could add to this patch is another group, a noise, a bandpass filter up high, and then we could do some amplitude modulation to the noise to make it rattlesnake. And we could either use the sub, or we could use this, or we could make our own shape. So I'm going to go in here and use this tool again. And I kind of want it to be like a spiky rattlesnake sound. So I'm going to do something like this, and then go down here, so that we have kind of a interesting shark fin type shape, and map that to the amplitude. Maybe give that a bit of modulation too. So maybe modulate the amount of FM a little bit, like this. Kind of a way to do it with FM, and then I'll show you another pretty interesting way that I think is more popular right now. So if I close that top bass and turn it off, I can create another wavetable. I'll hold Command and just create a group for it, and then has an output, but I'm going to duplicate this filter. Oh, yeah, output. I'm going to take this filter, duplicate that over here so we have a similar thing. Going to track, and then we could do like a saw down wave. Where is it? Yeah, use this and just do a simple saw down, and maybe put a little side, this is just a side note, maybe a little bit of non-linearity would be nice. So a little bit of subtle difference here, and maybe at near the zero crossing do a little jagged thing, so it sounds a little distorted. So nice fat saw. And so I'll send the noise to lane 3, and I'll send the sub oscillator to lane 3. And then this one, I'll keep sending it to lane 1, and we can put a disperser. So what a disperser does is offsets the area above this line right here. It offsets the phase of this top section from this bottom section. So what that does is it essentially creates a laser sound, because the bottom is happening later than the top. So and then it smears with this curve, and you can change the way it kind of smears it. So this, when you increase this pinch, it almost gives you more of a bubbly type of shape or sound. And then this amount is like how much time is created. So how late you're offsetting the below part of the frequency spectrum to the upper part. So now if you listen to that on this saw wave, you're going to hear kind of a laser sound. So first with it off, and then with it on. So you see when you pinch it, it almost starts giving you like a vowel type sound. And here's a fun little trick that I really like doing with this. If you take a random modulator and just increase the smoothness a tiny bit and have it going pretty slow, and then duplicate it, and then this other random will keep the smooth off and kind of turn down the chaos. And we'll use this one to modulate the speed of this other random, and then we can use this main random to modulate this cutoff just very tiny amount, like 4%. We could have this as like the mono core of the top bass, and then we could take this other one we made and unmute it, and maybe this one will do full spread on like 7 voices with a ton of detune, and then the blend all the way up and turn it down, and we could blend this in for some nice stereo other lasers. So we got kind of a wet, lasery sound, and then if you wanted to make this into a true laser bass, we could create an LFO and then do a ramp down like we did before, but at LFO rate, so we can get that nice zappy laser. I'll just put this to the master tune so it affects all the oscillators the same. maybe duplicate that. So we could map the speed of this, turn it down first to like 30 hertz, 0.30 hertz, and then map the speed. And then once we duplicate it, that macro will remember the duplicate. And we could maybe use this one to control the gain. So that higher part of the zap is a bit much. So maybe I want the sound to be quieter there and then come up. So it's like a wub shape for the volume. And I'll map this one to the output of lane 3. Turn that output down. What happens if we modulate the disperser cutoff too? Kind of an interesting laser bass. Little grain delay. So fun fact, grain delay is really nice on laser sounds. So maybe dry wet on full, group it, put a filter, high pass it, put a dry chain, turn the wet down. Pitch it up an octave. And so we got a clean sub. All this nice top. But it could be nice to distort. To give a bit more grit. And then this will actually make it sound a bit more musical, because what's going to happen is the sine wave is... I'm going to turn the sine wave up a good amount. The sub oscillator here, turn that up a lot. And then what's going to happen, I'll put a saturator too. So we'll put a saturator after the decap and drive into the saturator. And so that sub harmonic is going to hit the clipping and create a bunch of upper harmonics that are going to blend with the laser bass sound. And then the laser bass sound is going to get distorted as well and create a bunch more harmonics. And similarly, we could actually also make more of a bubble type bass if we just reverse this kind of main pitch envelope. There's a lot of different sounds you can get out of this patch. This one kind of sounds a bit too gnarly on those highs, so maybe I'll turn the highs down here with that volume envelope. So yeah, you can also do kind of you can do a lot of different things with this pitch envelope, like just do this kind of thing. paper instead of the saturator. So yeah, anyways, that's about it. Just kind of an interesting concept to play around with lasers. They sound really nice and wet and sci-fi sounding. So yeah, if you like the video, like and subscribe. Check out my stuff. It's 5UPHR05. That's Sephiros on everything. And yeah, send me some laser bases if you make any. I'd love to see your take on it. So yeah, comment down below any questions as well. I'll get to them for sure. And yeah, until next time, I'm Sephiros. Have a great rest of your day or night, and big up. Peace.